Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our next guest, Robin Nobling. She is the Executive Director of NAMI Davidson County, which is serving the greater Nashville area. And NAMI stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So let's start out. Robin, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I really appreciate this opportunity to chat with you today.
Absolutely. So let's raise some awareness for the work you do. I feel like now more than ever, it's so extremely important. But give us some background on NAMI Davidson County and working in the greater Nashville area.
So NAMI Davidson County was formed 10 years ago. We work in the greater Nashville area. We're the capital city affiliate for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Now, this is a nationwide organization, peer-to-peer. What that means is anybody in this organization has the direct lived experience of a mental health condition, or they love somebody that does. And so you'll have chapters in all 50 states. We happen to be the one that serves the greater Nashville area.
Talk about, right now with the pandemic, especially just what you're seeing when it comes to raising awareness for mental health, brain fitness, mental illness, like all of these things, because I feel like we're struggling in so many ways. Talk about it from that vantage point, from what you're seeing right now.
Sure. We are struggling and we have a right to it. The feelings that so many of us are having, and you may not have them all the time, but, whatever you're feeling, the anxiety you're feeling, the depression, the frustration, the irritation, they're all worthwhile feelings. And what we started seeing when everything kicked off back in March, we started seeing a lot of anxiety and depression. We have a helpline, for this area that people call into, an information referral weekday helpline. And so we started to see an increase from people who had anxiety and depression. Very natural. We expected that when we heard this was coming. Then further down the line, we got what we expected also, which is about 6 to 8 weeks in. And folks, this is very, very common. Initially, when people are hit with some kind of crisis, they are so busy just trying to just get through. They've been dropped into the middle of a deep, dark forest, and they're just trying to make their way through. We don't generally see them then. Generally, what happens is they take stock, develop the feelings around it. They start developing more severe anxiety, depression, and for us, people who already have mental health conditions they're dealing with, like bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, and we're seeing a lot of people who already have PTSD, who this is triggering. And so people with OCD, can you imagine if you're someone that's dealing with an OCD condition that is around germs? This is so difficult. But so we saw 6 to 8 weeks into this, what we expected, which was an increase in the calls we started receiving on paranoia, extreme mania. And so for the months of May through September, we started doing a lot of interventions. Primarily, we were getting calls from family members. And they had someone who was needing to be facilitated to get into care. And so sometimes that facilitation was non-emergency police departments, mobile crisis workers, sometimes family directly were taking them in, and a few times we had to make sure that we were calling 911. But yes, all of this goes into this, and it has certainly raised all of our awareness of the impact of mental health in a crisis.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, somebody recently mentioned that this is bringing about a whole new level of PTSD for, just what we're dealing with the pandemic alone. And then you throw in just all the other uncertainty and difficulties around. So I think just that sort of creation of what we're dealing with is just, it's instigating a lot of challenges for everyone. And then it's a matter of where do we turn for help? And so talk about, you mentioned the hotline, you mentioned some of the resources, but dive in deeper on, when we turn to help, what that help looks like.
So first of all, help is something you can do for yourself. All right. We can do in the home. You can do things for yourself. We are very strong on mindfulness. And taking a moment. One of the things that I like in one of our support groups, and I'll get to those in a minute, But one of the things that was said in one of the support groups was a woman who had mental health conditions and was trying to keep herself on an even keel and was using our service as part of that. And she said, I went to my therapist the other day and she told me to be present. We hear that, be present. What's that mean? I love what her therapist said to her. Look down at your feet. Where are you? This is where you are in the present moment. Are you dry? Are you warm? Are you safe? Let's start from there. And we can all do that. If there's a time to react to crisis, react. But you know what? Don't create something in the moment that's not there. So those are things that we talk about. We have free peer-led support groups that we do. All of our facilitators for our support groups are people who either have lived experience or are family members. They've been through 50 hours of training and a mentorship. And we've added additional groups since the beginning of the pandemic. We never missed a group. We turned on a dime. We started with the tornado, actually. We knew people were impacted by the tornadoes. So what people can expect is they are on Zoom. They can go to our website, namidavidson.org. They can go to our calendar and just click on a date that has a tonight. Actually, there's, I know this won't be airing on the same day, but I've got a support group I'll be doing tonight. And what we do with people is you can log on and you can join our support group, and you don't have to have a computer to do it or a smartphone. It's very important to us that people have access. So a regular phone will do this. And if you can't, reserve with us, register with us, and you've got a phone, you could call us and we'll make sure you get the information. You don't have to say a word when you get on. You don't have to say a word. We're gonna check into you. We're gonna ask you if you'd like to participate, but we want you to be comfortable. It's a big deal to go to a complete group of strangers and say, I got stuff. That takes a lot of courage, but more and more people are doing it. And so our groups generally last between 90 minutes to 2 hours. We have a format that we talk to people about where it's a safe place for an emotional conversation. And I always tell people, if you can tell us something in our support groups that we haven't heard, you get points. And we give out very few points.
I almost feel like, though, in a way, the technology is a blessing because, one, it allows everyone to be where they are, to be present, but to access this. And at the same time, though, there's a certain source of anonymity or anonymity, whatever the word is I'm trying to get to, but they can be anonymous in terms of, like you said, they don't even have to turn their camera on. And so maybe they can share, whereas in person, they might be a little bit more intimidated, but over the phone or on a Zoom where they can turn off the camera, they can really let go and talk about things that they might not do in person. So I feel like in a good way that really could open up some opportunities for healing.
Well, we actually have found that. And one of the things we're committed to even after this is over is keeping some of the online groups for that very reason. What it does for people, and we find it especially for people with mental health issues rather than family, is that it gives them some control. And right now, when everyone is feeling so out of control, that's a good place to be. Now, in addition to the support groups that we do, we're very strong on family care too. And so in addition to the support groups, which sometimes will include family members, sometimes they'll, family members will be separate from lived experience folks. You get to choose what you want to do. We also do a monthly caregivers mental health primer, so that if someone has been triggered by this, or perhaps they've never had a mental health condition that has surfaced before, and family members don't know how to support and don't understand what's going on, we have on the second Saturday of each month at 3 p.m. online, and you'll also find this on our calendar, it's called Family and Friends, we do a mental health caregivers primer. And we will take you through different types of mental health issues. We will teach you how to advocate for your loved one and systems. We'll give you some of the language you need, and we'll teach you how to take better care of yourself when you love somebody that has a mental health condition.
Share maybe one bit of advice on that. I mean, obviously the first one is to attend that, but for family, give us maybe one of your favorite bits of advice around that. It can be, just kind of wide open, but what's a bit of advice?
So one of the things we really like to teach families to use is I messaging. So rather than saying to someone, you've got someone who maybe snapping at you, maybe telling you things in their reality that is not the reality you're seeing. And so what you can start with is, you don't point the finger and say, you really don't think that, do you? You really shouldn't behave that way. You don't want to do that. Put it on you. I really get concerned when I hear that. I understand that's how you see that. And I'm not saying it's real. I'm just saying, I'm sorry, I don't see that right now. I really like it when you get up in the morning and sit with me and have a cup of coffee. That's so nice. I really like that. So reframing, and we find that as simple as it sounds, it can be a very powerful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about the advocacy. You mentioned advocacy is something you really work a lot in, and obviously it really opens the floodgates. So talk about advocacy.
Well, it's funny, we just got invited in December to share that with the psychiatry residents over at Meharry. And so advocacy for us appears at different levels. On a personal level, it could be a family member calling me saying, I have a loved one that's ended up in jail. They're not giving him his medication. And so I'll explore what's going on with that particular issue. It may not be that, it may be the person who refused medication. It may be that it's a different formulary in the jail. But we have relationships with people in the behavioral health part of the jail. They cannot violate confidentiality. We never ask them to do that. But we can also say, in a standard situation like this, what's the most common practice? Share that with family. The other thing that we can say to family is, whenever someone is in the hospital, you can ask to be put on a release of information. You can ask that happens. So if the individual does that, then the facility can share information with you. If they don't, what we teach people to do is, that facility, if you've got a loved one that's maybe is in involuntarily, then what you can do is you can call that facility. And we always suggest that people contact a social worker. Please don't ask for the psychiatrist. They're overwhelmed. And a lot of times so are the nurses, but a social worker. And you can call up and say, I know that you cannot tell me whether or not that person may be in there. I'm not asking you to violate confidentiality, but just in case they are, I'm mother. This is my number. This is what's been happening recently. I just thought it might be helpful to you as you're trying to create an assessment. And this is what's going on. Other ways we advocate is if we do get a complaint about a particular facility, we try to teach families to go in and resolve the complaint themselves. This is why we have relationships with all the major providers in the area. And I will call them up and say, I think I have a teaching moment. And because things happen, and my goodness, they're under the gun right now so much. So we'll have that. We also advocate on a policy level. I personally am a member of the Mayor's Behavioral Wellness Advisory Council. I'm also leadership for the Region 4 Department of Mental Health Planning and Policy Council, and serve on their state council. So from that position, we try to make an impact on policies and be the voice of the people that we serve. As NAMI is very active at the state level and the national level in political advocacy and policies in support of people. So we will also help on that, and we'll call our followers. If you get on our e-list, and we do hope that people will join our e-list when they go to our website, you may be called in. We may turn around and say, there's a piece of legislation, House number, Senate bill number. We think this is very important. We think this is why we're asking you to support it. So we do policy advocacy also. And one of the biggest things we're trying to do right now is just decriminalization of mental health is a big part of our policy advocacy.
Yeah. How can we help? How can the community help?
I think it'd be really great for the community, for one thing, can have awareness. One of the biggest things that we find, and we invite any of any of the businesses involved here, we do something called Stigma Free Company, where we will work with an HR department to tailor to find out what level you're at with your comfort and your company around these issues, tailor something specifically for this so that we understand that mental health issues are health issues. The head is not separate from the body. Most of the time, these are biological conditions. So having an awareness, treating people with dignity wherever you are, whether it's at work, at home, out on the street, understanding that these are biological conditions very frequently. You can help us. We would very much appreciate it. We are a nonprofit. We are a 501(c)(3), and close to half of our funding comes from the Department of Mental Health, but we raise the rest of it every year. And we have a tremendous amount of outreach that we do in other programs, and we can use your support. We are starting our biggest awareness and fundraising event of the year, which is NAMI Walks Greater Nashville. And we'd love to have you join as sponsors, as corporate teams, as individuals. This is a fun event that will take place. People can sign on right now, but the majority of it, the real campaign for it is going to be between St. Patrick's Day and April 17th, where we will ask you to walk with us. Now, some of you maybe have families and friends where you'll go out there. We'll be doing a walk day Wednesdays where we'll do challenges. How many dogs are on your walk today? How many of you completed a 5K? And we're going to want you to join us through social media, through Instagram, through Facebook. You'll see my smile. Mental health is mental health. Nobody with a mental health condition is down every minute of the day. Join us in mental wellness. That's what we want. So, and so volunteer with us, support us, and please, by all means, just support all the people around you.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned it before, but go ahead and wrap up with website, contact information. Where do we go?
So you want to go to NAMI Davidson, all together, no dots, NAMIDavidson.org. I really want to draw your attention, anyone, to the couple of tabs. The groups/resources tab has a lot of helpful information. So if you or you're seeking something for your employees, check that out. Multilingual resources, all kinds of things. Education tab is very important. And then, of course, we'd love for you to join our walk. So be sure to check out the events tab too.
Well, Robin, thank you for all you and your team do. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.